going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. Thank you all so much for just taking a brief moment out of your day to tune in to today's episode. And as I normally say, I have a special guest. This man right here. It's I got a crazy little short story for you all. But before I even get into that, let me just say that my man here is, and he is an author. He is also a public speaker, and he is the host for the podcast Speak for Change. He has been invited to be a guest speaker on a plethora of different platforms to provide his voice, and he has a powerful voice. And being able to meet him and speak to him and get to know him a bit, it's been a joy. Really good guy. His sister are really good peoples as well, and it was just a great time when I got to meet them. So without further ado, I present to you the one and only Thomas Sage Pedersen. What's going on, my man?
What's up, brother? Oh man, I think that's probably the one of the best introductions I've had. Thank you for that. That was amazing.
Oh, no worries. No worries, man. It is certainly a pleasure, and thank you as well. You know, our time at the San Francisco Writer Conference was cool, man. And thank you for introducing me to Moses. I've been in contact with Moses
Oh,
for
perfect.
not the biblical version for people who are like Moses. Who? He introduced him to the biblical version. No, I mean, he talks like a biblical version
Yeah,
of.
exactly. Man, all right.
My man got that voice like, hello, my name is Moses.
Yeah. Oh man, following him has been really a treat as
Yeah.
well. Just seeing all these great thought leaders, including
Yes,
yourself.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
He's a really good guy. The dynamics of the three of us. I think you had mentioned three kings, man. It's
Yeah, that's right.
the three kings.
We were
It's
literally the three kings.
yes, sir. Yeah, it was awesome, man, and we just hit it off immediately.
Yeah.
It was so that story really quick. I know you're for short on time, but
No,
really
you're
quick, I
good.
gotta say this. So, Thomas and I, we started following each other on social media like a couple months ago, right? And I'm in San Francisco at the San Francisco Writers Conference, and I was on stage for something. I think I was with the agents and the publishers because I was there as a publisher also. And I'm looking and I can see him towards the back, and I'm like, why does this man look so familiar? But I didn't want to be awkward and say, hey, who are you? I think I've seen you. But I saw him a few times, and we were downstairs of the hotel of the Hyatt where they were doing pitches, and I saw him downstairs, and I glanced, and then he saw me, and I looked away. I'm like, okay, oh goodness, I hope he didn't see me. Okay, he saw me. Oh goodness, it would be really awkward. So I walked around the corner to try to play it off. I opened up my app. I'm like, let me go to Instagram real quick because this man looks so familiar. And then I saw him. And then as I saw him, I walked up to him. He said, "What's going on, man?" I'm like, I said, "Bro, I was just look," and I showed him the phone, and it was a picture of him. Like, I'm not gaslighting you, man. I was just confirming that this was the same person. So wild.
I love that. That's like such a great story of how when people meet up in real life, from
Yeah.
social media. It's crazy.
it was it was wild. It was such a good feeling because I've only ever met a couple of people that I've met on the internet, and
Yeah.
it's always good vibes. But it just feels like I've known you for so many years,
It
and we
feels
just met.
yeah.
It's like good guy, man. So but let me digress and go ahead and get into some questions
No, you're
because
good, bro. That's
yeah. So
absolutely amazing.
we had mentioned speaker, we had mentioned author, and a podcast host. So people tune into this show mostly because I bring on guests
Yeah.
who have a voice, have a platform, And I like the idea of the younger generation of writers within the whether they're in a book publishing business or they're a writer in general, to just gain some insight from those who are experienced and see
Yeah.
if they can form their own journey out of that.
Right.
So for you, with the journey that you've been like a jack of all trades, I don't even know where to start. So I guess let's start with the author.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what got you into becoming an author?
So I've been writing all like since I was around 12 years old, right? I've been journaling and writing, and I look back at some of those journals and I'm like, wow, that's uncomfortable. But but I think throughout the years, um, I've I, I've been just doing so many different things in life, right? I started a music school. I worked on a farm. I did I started all these different things, and I had all these different career paths. And it wasn't till, I don't know, a few years ago, when I was like, I really want to, or like more like 7 years ago, you know what I mean? But like,
Mm.
I really want to start. Like, I really want to write a book. I really want to like do this, and I've had that dream since high school. And I look back at some of my journals and some of my writings, and I've always wanted to, naively change the world, right? I always wanted to make an impact. I wanted to do something. I didn't know how. I was so confused about the nature of our society and our world, just as in an organic sense, like almost just from observation, not really from my mom or my dad really asking me philosophical questions. I'm definitely the most philosophical out of that, how I was brought up. I think they were just more confused than anything. But, I question the state of reality, and, it's taken me till now really to really refine my skills and to figure and have be able to cohesively share that message. And that really came to fruit in 2020 when I really got activated um for activism and being part of the community and doing a lot of work, starting Speak for Change podcast, all this stuff. Really, obviously if you look back at the life, years of being pushed into this direction, but 2020 was really the just jump into the ocean, just jump into the pool. And
Mhm.
so my author journey really is about life. I think the more you live life fully and deeply, the better your art, whatever that is going to be.
Mhm.
If that's going to be, if it's writing, like what we're talking about, like if living life is where we get the inspiration from.
Yes, sir.
And if you live life deeply, boldly, and courageously, like facing your fears, facing your discomforts, and going out there, you are going to have a lot of learning. You're going to have a lot to say or express, if it's in another art form. And I'm one of those people who live life, but I'm also for some reason have a pull to trying to figure out, how do I express this,
Mhm.
and how can I make change into creating a world that's more compassionate, more courageous, and more, for lack of a better word, inclusive, in the sense of we can actually communicate and work together as a people, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. And you always, excuse me, like what's always interesting, right, when it comes to being a creator
Yeah.
as a whole is like the message behind what you're trying to create. And many things can get misconstrued in the ideology of creating something,
Yes.
right? But speak for change, right?
Yes.
Knowing that there's something that I want to change, and you know what? I don't really see it anywhere else, so let me be the one that's creating it.
Yes.
Like I'm sure, you're not a stranger to podcasts since you run your own as well,
Yeah.
and I guess the idea is like some people get really apprehensive about creating anything new because there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of other platforms that are relatively similar. So what
Absolutely.
am I? Well, not me, but figuratively speaking, right? What am I going to do that'd be different? And I think it's just a personality.
Right.
And so, no, for you with your show, Speak for Change, right? Like, what was the moment, like that pivotal moment that said, "This is what I'm going. you know what? I'm creating this, and I'm going to run with it."
Yeah, I think to kind of talk about some points you made earlier in that statement as well about, uh, you know, everything has been done before. I had a teacher who would never, he didn't, or he didn't publicly compose music. This was a music teacher, uh, because he said everything's been done before. But he would arrange music, right? He would have a song and he would make a version of that song. And I just vividly disagree with that notion. Yes, things have been done and that are similar, right? You know, as an author, we talk about comp titles and comparing things like that. But when you try to hone in your own unique self and your own unique voice, which sometimes means looking at parts of yourself that you don't like and realizing that that actually is a gift given to you somehow, your uniqueness will shine through if you allow yourself to be uncomfortable and vulnerable to listening to yourself, right? And so on that point, the more true you are to yourself, the more unique your stuff is going to come out. It's just how it is. You know, even if it's talking about the same topics as someone else, maybe someone needed to hear that message from you, from your voice, not from this other author's voice, not from
Right.
this other's author's voice or this other creator. Around Speak for Change, it was April 4th, 2020. I was on spring break. I actually know this story because I made it a point. The pandemic had just hit hard at home. All the schools were closed. I was running a music school, and then suddenly I was at home on spring break. We had a week off, and I just went into the woods. I lived in the redwoods at the time, and I had this spot. I would go and just meditate. I would even nap. I would just hang out in this spot in the woods, and I'd bring a book, Tim Ferriss's Tools for Titans, and I would just read that book and just nap, meditate, just in the woods, and I would come back and just relax. Right? There was some point where I was like, I am not living to my highest potential here. You know, I am not. I feel like there's a part of me that has not been heard or expressed, and I need to do something for myself, not necessarily for to create something new or to create something whatever. I was not worried about that. I was more worried about, am I living a life that I'm going to live to regret? You know, am I going to be at my deathbed and be like, did I not do everything I could to be the most, to live life fully and to be the most me possible in this life, right? And so I
Yeah.
was like, boom, I started exercising every day, waking up at 5 a.m., like kind of going crazy a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
taking cold showers, like whole boot camp thing. And that eventually, my business partner at my consulting company, Julia Greenspan, this was before she was my business partner, but I was at her house one day with my best friend, Nick, who's her husband. I was swimming in their pool because they offered it to me because I was like really active, and she was like, "You should start a podcast," you know. And I was like, "Down." I started it that day on an iPad,
Oh.
and using Anchor. I think Anchor .fm or something, a free thing to post, and I just did it. I just started uh, like speaking. I started using it as a platform to practice public speaking. So every day I would speak and for an hour. I would like give myself a topic and try to talk about that topic for an hour, right? And eventually I upgraded my gear. I rebranded my name to now Speak for Change when I started doing interviews. And because the interviews were really where I was starting to see I was learning so much from people almost immediately. And then that grew and grew, and it became like a pretty local staple in my community and abroad, but mainly in my community. So it was it was something that I had to do because not to be unique or to stand out, but to really make sure I was doing everything I could to live to my fullest potential.
Yeah. That is powerful, man. That is. the thing that I really love about what you're saying, and this is where most people, I don't even have a statistic, but there's a 0.01% or something like that of
Yeah.
people who do it like that.
Yeah.
And the one poignant moment that really stood out to me was when you said that your friend, your now business partner, she said you should start a podcast, and you said bet, and you
Yeah.
did it that day.
Yes.
I promise you, and you're not a stranger to this.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I'm really speaking more to the people who aren't our viewers.
Yeah.
People people see things in other people, and it's up to them to decide to do something about it.
Yes.
But you did it that day. Most people will sit on that idea and ponder the thought, and then they think, how can I get started? What should I do? Do I have the tools? And they prolong it.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. You're absolutely right. I'm nodding in agreement.
Yeah.
Because it's one of the. I kind of rolled my eyes. I think because it's one of the pet peeves. I think I hear from people that, how do I do this? And they drag their feet so much. And I'm like, you have to fight that perfectionism. You have to know that it's not going to be perfect. You may fail for the first 100 episodes. You know what I mean? Like you may, whatever you're doing, like learn by doing, learn on the job, don't wait for the perfect scenario. And, people are different, but like in my school of thought, you do the thing, you learn about the thing by doing. From someone who's been in my head a lot, like I'm an overthinker.
Yeah.
This has been the single most best advice that I had to learn just by living, but is to just do the thing because it's
Yes,
going to
sir.
look different. It's going to feel different. You're going to see things differently once you start actively doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're just imagining it, or you're asking like 20 billion people how to do the thing, when in reality, you just need to jump in there and start training and doing,
Right. Mm-hmm.
none of this like, oh, like, but what if the sound is, oh, what if I'm like,
Exactly.
let's make the
Yeah.
mistake,
Mm-hmm.
people's memories are very short and you're probably not going to have a lot of listeners right off the bat,
Right.
like just make and you know what, be authentic about it. It's okay to make mistakes and to be
Mm-hmm.
imperfect and to be messy in life. Life is like the idea that things are linear and things have like an order to them is a big illusion.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, life's a lot more complex, full of paradoxes and full of things that are deeply uncomfortable and not consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are just living a life where we're just want everything to be according to our plan, I'm sorry, that's just not going to be how it turns out. And if you're going to think that's going to be how it turns out, you're going to have a rough go at things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to do things that maybe is like an expression of your authentic self. You're not going to learn who you are in this world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not going to learn it because you're not willing to be uncomfortable. You're not willing to
Yeah.
let yourself be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was
No, that's such a good point. So so man, we're gelling right now. So when, at the San Francisco Writer Conference, right
yeah,
on that Saturday, I want to say February 8th. I forgot what the panel was, but it was a
yeah,
panel pretty much of publishers, agents, and whatever. But
yeah,
I think the main ones up there were the publishers and editors. There were 20 people on that stage,
yeah.
and none of them looked like us
No,
except me. I
yeah,
was the only one, and
that
I'm
was
not
right.
saying that to say that, hey, because to me, the racial barrier thing,
Yeah,
make your own lane, do what you can to stand out, and if you're the one that's the chosen one, then you're the chosen one.
yeah,
I try not. I don't get into that whole black this, brown this, white this. That's not my flavor,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't see it. My wife's not even black. She's
yeah,
Mexican, and
yeah,
and some of my best buddies are white people,
yeah,
and some of them are others are Asian, and
yeah.
some are Hispanic. So to me, I grew up in a diverse culture through the
Absolutely.
military. So that's not a thing for me. But I will say that Saturday, when I was on that stage with everyone else, and they're seasoned, been in this game for 20 years, 30 years, 40
Right.
years. I've been in it for about 5.
Yeah,
And I was on that stage, and my moment was thinking, as it was going around, like, dang, what can I say? How can I? They all sound like they're selling an idea. I don't know, what should I say?
yeah,
And I just spoke a truth. hey, this is who I am as a person, and this is what I offer. The idea to pitch my podcast to everybody
Yeah.
wasn't even something that I thought to do. It was something that I didn't think of it beforehand. I was
Yeah.
thinking of it as I was coming, like, should I not? But it's to your point about just do it and
Yes.
see what happens. And by me going out there and just doing it, there were countless people who not only came up to me and appreciated the things that I said up there, but they also were on board with wanting to support the movement of what this podcast is. So much like yourself for the Speak for Change, and my change that I wanted to bring was to empower the younger generation of people
Yeah.
coming up in the business of book publishing, or even just in general, being able to give them that knowledge so they can feed themselves and feed their families, teaching them how to fish versus just bringing them to the grocery store and having them
Exactly.
buy things pre-made. So I really love what you had to say. I know we're short on time, so I'll ask you just two more quick
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
and then I'll put you on your way. So your podcast, where can, well, that'd be the last question.
Mhm.
I guess let me just ask you this question. What what do you feel like your purpose is, with your voice, because you have a
Yeah.
powerful voice? You feel like your purpose is for it?
Well, purpose has been a question I've been asking myself since I was probably 16 years old. And a quick little story. It was when I was 16, I had a mentor, and he just asked me, what is my purpose in life? Right. And he was like, don't think about it, just write it on this piece of paper. And I just had to like grab a receipt that I had, and I wrote music and helping people. Right. At the time, I was a musician, I was a trained musician, and helping people has always been a deeply personal thing to me. Like I was either going to go to school for psychology or music, right? That was kind of my path. As time has grown, that purpose has morphed and grown like a living being, through
Mhm.
life, through living, through being in community with one another and being in community with people. So to answer the question, I really think my purpose here is to fully embody authenticity and what that is shown to me is to
Yeah.
be as real as I can be individually, but we are social creatures. And so whatever I can do to help liberate the community around me is what I am here for. I am here
Yes.
for personal liberation, so that someday, probably when I'm dead and, generations from now, we can hopefully live in a society where we can be real with one another, where
Mhm.
we don't have to have personas, where we don't have to have these kind of performative things to fit in or to that we have enough understanding of complexity of human experience and of the realness of people that we can just know that instead of having to, oh, I have to perform for this person so that they will like me or they'll understand me. I want to live in
Mhm.
a world where that exists,
Right.
where you can just be real. If
Yep.
you're sad and depressed, a lot of people who are sad, they don't want to burden their friends and their colleagues and all this stuff. But I'm
Hmm.
like, I would love to be in a society where you burden something on me and I have the capacity to hold that. And they
Yep.
have the capacity to hold that. And we can hold those spaces for one another and
Yes,
help
sir.
each other through those spaces in a communal sense.
Absolutely.
So it's like really finding your uniqueness and your individualism, but for the sake of strengthening the collective, you know?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so it's not just an either or scenario, which tends to be the case, right? People are like either you're communal and you sacrifice your personal stuff for the greater good, or you're individual where personal freedoms and individualism is the primary focus. You are the primary focus. I think it's not as linear. That I think we need to find our unique individual selves so we can bring our gifts to the collective. And so the collective could get stronger and more real and more authentic and more honest. And so
Yes.
if
Hmm.
someday in whatever future that becomes a reality, that's great. And so my role is to try to embody that in our current system as much as I can. And
Yep.
I'm trying to be as authentic as I can. I'm trying to be as real as I can given that my mind is already in this system, that I am in this system, so I can't be fully unless you are free, unless everyone else is free, you know?
Exactly.
So I will try my best, but I'm living for a world that doesn't exist yet. So, you know.
Yeah, hey, you're going to bring people to that promised land. So while people are able to listen to you here right now on this episode, how can people reach you?
Yeah, so I have a website, thomassagepedersen.com. And that Pedersen is always misspelled in people's heads. So it's PED as in dog, ERSEN .com. And they're like, I just started this newsletter and I think it's really going to be informative. And like, if you would sign up for that, that would be probably the best way to stay in contact with me because I'm so excited about it. You get community updates, inspiring leaders, podcasts, like kind of all the things I do when you start to look into my world via Instagram, because I'm very active on Instagram. You can start to see that I'm a pretty diverse human being, I would say. And so
Mhm.
it's kind of neat to have insights and then other just looking at different organizations that I'm on the boards and are associated with just to have there on the newsletter. So,
Mhm.
if you want to sign up for the news, that's great. But if you just want to follow me on Instagram or just say hi, I'm always down to meet new people. So, yeah.
Yeah, hey, and no worries on if you all are kind of lost in translation. You're like, that's a lot to follow.
Yeah.
All of his information will be linked in the bio of this episode, wherever you're listening to it, whether it's just going to be on YouTube or if you're going to be listening to this on an audio based on platform like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Amazon Music, wherever you're listening to it, just know that you just go to the description and just you can find them there. But hey, that looks like I'm right up at that time slot for him. My man is a busy man, so I gotta go ahead and let him go. So hey, we definitely got to do this again. I'm hoping to come on your
Oh,
podcast
definitely.
whenever you,
Yeah,
whenever you're
you're
ready.
coming on. We're gonna connect again, and I'm sorry I gotta just jump and jet, but it's truly been an honor, man, and I love talking with you. And it always sucks when I have to book it and leave like this, but it's like because I could just talk with you for days. It seems, like I said, it feels like I've known you longer than I've
Yeah,
actually known you. So
no, for sure.
it's a very
Yeah,
real
man.
sentiment. Yeah,
It's been a pleasure.
yeah.
Hey, you all, thank you all so much for taking the time to tune into today's episode. You all take care. Have a great remainder of your day, and I will catch you next time.